Many players in the finals are facing challenges with lag or finding the most suitable settings to optimize their performance in game. Today, I will discuss the best settings for the finals and also provide essential tips to enhance your performance outside of the game. Let's start by addressing in-game settings. So the first thing on the list is Gameplay tab. Under Gameplay tab, enable Use enemy team colors to display enemy outlines and health bars in your team's color. Disable Hide Player Name to distinguish between enemies. Set Preferred Region to Automatic for optimal server selection. Consider adjusting your crosshair based on personal preference and gameplay style. Just play around for a bit and you'll quickly realize what works the best for you. If you are a PC player, you'll find the game a lot more enjoyable if your crossplay is kept off. Moving on to mouse and keyboard settings, I do want to mention that the finals is a game that needs precision aim and a lot of turning around. So, set the sensitivity to a level where you can comfortably maneuver and maintain control. I would suggest somewhere between 55 to 65 is usually what works for a lot of players and is something that I suggest. But again, it comes down to personal preference. Moving on to aim, usually the best is to keep the mouse zoom sensitivity multiplier on 100% and to keep focal length sensitivity on. This makes aiming down sights 1 to 1. I do want to mention that it's better to keep the vertical look input off. Experiment with aim down sight settings to find what works best for you. The next setting is toggle sprint. Scroll down to sprint toggle and set it to any button you would like. Usually, that will be shift. It's very convenient to have the sprint on to a toggle when you have to run anywhere in the game. Toggle sprint for convenience and to reduce finger fatigue during intense gameplay. Accessibility. Moving on to accessibility, this isn't something you have to touch, but just in case you happen to have any trouble with telling the different enemy team colors apart, as at times they kinda look the same, then adjust color modes if needed for better distinction between enemy team colors. Audio. Customize audio setting based on personal preference for focus and immersion. I would suggest to turn off the music volume and also turning off the dialogue volume to lower that constant announcement from what's going on. But if you are someone who does like it, then keeping the volume somewhere around 55 is a good range. Moving on to video settings. These settings are very important as you'll miss out on a lot of FPS if you haven't set them up properly. Ensure optimal performance and visual clarity by adjusting settings. So how we are going to do this is by right clicking the Steam icon in your bottom right, then selecting in-game and turn on Steam overlay if it isn't on already. Then enable the in-game FPS counter. I'll explain why you need this turned on towards the end of the video. Set window mode to full screen and resolution to your monitor's native resolution. In case you are having frame issues, then lowering the resolution will help you get a lot more frames as it will avoid strain on your graphics card. Next thing on the list is to disable VSync and adjust NVIDIA reflex low latency setting based on system performance. If your system is good enough, then you could set it on plus boost, but do keep in mind it will be at the cost of your frames. If your PC has decent specs or low end, then keeping this setting on instead of on plus boost is better. Experiment with resolution scaling methods for the best balance between performance and visual quality. Normally what works the best is setting your resolution scaling method to TAAU and setting your resolution scale to 100%. Moving on to graphics, you got to keep in mind to adjust graphic settings to maintain consistent frame rates while optimizing visibility. Here are the best settings. Set field of view to 100. Now this is going to improve the visual quality of your game and at the same time make your movements and run speed feel faster. Here's one tip I wanna mention. In case you're struggling to get more frames from your game, then lowering your FOV will get the job done. Moving on to motion blur and lens distortion. These are two settings that should be always disabled. Next is ray tracing. Ray tracing does look really cool, but in most cases, even if you have a good graphics card, it comes at a huge cost of your frames. So it's best to keep the setting off by setting it to static. In case you have a really high-end graphics card and you're getting good frames and consistent frames, then you can set it to dynamic low, which will improve your visibility and performance a little bit. As of quality turn, everything low except texture. Set texture to medium as it looks a bit better, especially the trees and grass, which will give you better visibility and have most consistent frames, which make it way easy to read and track enemies. Now let's have a look at some of the crucial settings out of the game that will drastically improve your performance in game and at the same time make the game look a lot better. So outside of the game, consider the following tweaks to further enhance performance. Update graphics card drivers to address potential issues with stuttering. Next, optimize GPU settings for high performance. In case you don't know how to do it, then let me help you. Open up your start menu, search for GPU settings, then open up the graphics setting panel. Next hit browse and go to your The Finals folder and double click discovery.exe. Once you're done with this, scroll down to discovery.exe in the graphics card panel. Click options and select high performance. Now in the same graphics menu, scroll right back up and click the default graphics turn hardware accelerated GPU scheduling off. You'll have to restart your PC for these settings to take effect. Adjust power settings to balance performance and energy efficiency. Now in case you're wondering how to adjust the setting, then here's how. Press and hold your Windows and R key and the run windows will open. Then type powercfg.cpl and press enter and you'll find yourself in power options. Next, open hide additional planes and select high performance mode. I do want to mention that it will draw more power for your device, especially if you're using a laptop or in case you experience any issues later on, then change the settings to what it was before. Usually, it's always on balance. Press Windows key and search for game bar and turn it off. Experiment with game mode settings to maximize FPS during gameplay as game mode have different results depending on your system. Let me give you a tip which will really help you select the right game mode and maximize FPS. Load the finals and jump into the practice range. Now turn the game mode on. Now make a note of the frame rates you are getting in the practice range. Based on your notes or observations, set the game mode to whatever setting gave you the most FPS. This way you can maximize your FPS during gameplay. Additionally, consider hardware upgrades if your CPU is struggling to keep up with the demands of the game. Address any crashes or errors by adjusting overclocking settings and ensuring system stability. As the finals is a highly CPU reliant game. Ultimately, these settings aim to provide a smoother gaming experience with optimized performance. If you encounter any issues or have any questions, feel free to ask for assistance. Thank you for watching, and I hope this guide helps improving your gameplay experience. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.